the darkest alien theory, and why they're desperately hiding it. Speculation. Lately, I've been looking into various testimonies from people and whistleblowers about aliens and UFOs, and I've managed to piece together a very dark and complex narrative. I would like to present it to you and, if possible, hear your opinions. All claims are inspired by real testimonies, whistleblower accounts, and available sources, which I will post in the individual points. At the end, I will assemble my thoughts from it. The theory is very dark, and I do not claim it to be true. 1. Abductions and consciousness manipulation. Many abduction witnesses describe going with the aliens voluntarily, only to later realize they were mentally manipulated or hypnotized. This phenomenon does not seem to be the result of physical violence, but rather psychological pressure, where abductees were controlled through their consciousness. Classic cases like Betty and Barney Hill describe going towards the craft because they felt an irresistible inner pressure or call that was not their own will. Similar stories are recorded in the works of Dr. John Mack, a psychiatrist and abduction researcher, who describes in his interviews and books that many abductees were able to leave their bodies or follow the entities without resistance, as if under the influence of implanted thoughts. Further research, for example, within regressive hypnosis therapies, hypnosis to uncover abduction memories, reveals that abductees often experience a state where their own decision-making processes are temporarily deactivated and replaced by an external influence. 2. The Greys are biological tools without consciousness. One of the most interesting and, at the same time, most disturbing theories regarding Grey-type aliens is that these entities are not alive in the classic sense, but are rather biological shells or biorobots that serve as tools controlled from a higher level of intelligence. Whitley Strieber, in his book Communion, describes different types of Greys, with the lower forms showing signs of an absence of their own will or consciousness. This testimony is repeated very often in various accounts. Dr. John Mack, in his book Abduction, Human Encounters with Aliens and in Interviews, suggests that some alien entities, including the Greys, may function as a collective or hive mind, where individuals do not have complete autonomy but are telepathically connected. 3. UFO craft have consciousness. Declassified documents from the Stargate project and the experiences of remote viewers also suggest that UFOs are more than just machines. Remote viewing describes these objects as conscious entities capable of mental contact, suggesting that alien technology may be linked to some form of consciousness or intelligence. Linda Moulton Howe, an investigative journalist, has recorded testimonies about intelligent, shape-shifting UFOs that react to their surroundings and act almost like living organisms. David Wilcock, an author and researcher, connects UFOs with higher consciousness and the idea that the craft are alive. 4. The abduction of consciousness and souls. Many witnesses of alien abductions describe not just the physical capture of their body, but also the disconnection of their consciousness or soul. For example, in books like The Threat by David M. Jacobs, who collected abduction testimonies for years, there are frequent mentions of people feeling that their self was separated from their body by someone or something. Whistleblower Corey Good adds that alien entities not only disconnect people's consciousness, but also harvest it. Bob Lazar claimed to have read classified documents stating that aliens consider us to be containers of containers, maybe containers of souls. 5. Quantum consciousness. There are theories that human consciousness is not located in the brain, but that our brains receive it externally. We could call this God, a collective or quantum consciousness, etc. This reality could be created by this quantum consciousness, which would insert fragments of its consciousness, souls, into living organisms. These fragments of consciousness would be isolated from their whole, thus forgetting their origin and experiencing their lives according to their environment, bodily sensors, and so on. This quantum consciousness could thus experience reality from all angles, from love to pain, fear, hatred, compassion, and understanding. For this consciousness, it would be a way to grow emotionally, spiritually, or informationally. 6. Quantum abilities of human souls, remote viewing, and Project Stargate. This part will be longer, but you will understand why I am talking about it. Some individuals possess the ability of remote viewing, which means they can perceive and describe places or events at a distance without being physically present. This ability seems like science fiction, but it was the subject of top-secret research. Under Project Stargate, which ran from roughly 1978 to 1995, the U.S. government explored the potential of remote viewing for military and intelligence purposes. After the official program ended, there are testimonies that the research and application continue in the private sector to prevent access by state institutions. Some of the known remote viewing cases that have been declassified are A. Pat Price, URDF-3, Semipalatinsk, USSR, 1974. Pat Price was involved in the Stargate project and was tasked with remotely describing the Soviet research complex URDF-3 in Semipalatinsk. Without prior information, he was able to provide detailed drawings of the site's external layout and descriptions of the technology inside the buildings. His data was later confirmed by satellite imagery and intelligence sources, which significantly boosted confidence in the remote viewing method. Price's work was considered one of the most accurate and convincing cases of Project Stargate. He was likely killed later on. B. Ingo Swann, Jupiter Exploration, 1973. Ingo Swann, one of the pioneers of remote viewing, was involved in an experiment to remotely explore the planet Jupiter. He described a dense atmosphere, rings, and surface structures that were not scientifically confirmed at the time. 6 years later, the Voyager 1 mission confirmed the existence of the rings and some of the phenomena he described. This case is often cited as evidence that remote viewing can work even beyond Earth and at vast distances. C. Joe McMoneagle, Soviet Submarine, 1979. Joe McMoneagle was a highly rated remote viewer who was asked to remotely describe a secret Soviet submarine. Without any prior information, he created a detailed drawing and description of its size, shape, and special equipment on board. After verification by intelligence services and technical experts, his description was found to match the actual submarine. D. Joe McMoneagle, Iran Hostage Rescue Mission, 1980. During the Iran hostage crisis, McMoneagle was called upon to locate the hostages' exact location. His remote description included details of the surroundings, buildings, and guards, which helped military planners better plan the rescue operation. E. Lynn Buchanan, Analysis of Objects and Locations, 1980s. Lynn Buchanan worked as a remote viewer and analyst in Project Stargate. He specialized in interpreting and verifying remote visions, where he could accurately determine the nature of military facilities, types of objects, and even the level of technology. Many of his interpretations were confirmed by satellite imagery. F. Melvin C. Mel Riley, Program Grill Flame, 1976 to 1981. Mel Riley worked as the first military remote viewer in the Grill Flame program. In 1979, he was asked to remotely monitor a Soviet base, where he described the movement of military units and the deployment of equipment. His accurate information was subsequently confirmed by satellite imagery and military intelligence, which helped in planning U.S. countermeasures. G. Joseph McMoneagle, Soviet base in Murmansk, 1980. Joe McMoneagle remotely described a Soviet military base in the Murmansk area. He detailed the exact location of warehouses and radar installations. Later intelligence sources confirmed the existence and characteristics of these facilities, validating the practical usability of remote viewing. H. Joseph McMoneagle, Cuba, 1983. During the Cold War, McMoneagle conducted remote viewing of military objects in Cuba. He described in detail the deployment of anti-aircraft missiles and the movement of military units, which intelligence sources subsequently confirmed. This information helped U.S. military planners monitor the situation in the Caribbean. Telepathy and the Telepathy Tapes. The podcast The Telepathy Tapes, led by documentary filmmaker Kai Dickens, focuses on stories of children with autism who allegedly communicate telepathically. Examples of situations presented in the podcast. Guessing numbers and words. Some episodes describe cases where children correctly guess numbers or words that their parents were thinking of without saying them aloud. For example, a child allegedly guessed a number a parent had written on a piece of paper without seeing it. Another child was said to have correctly answered a question about a word the parent had in mind. Describing parents' current activities. In one case, A child allegedly described what their parent was doing outside without being in direct contact with the parent or having access to information about their activities. This situation was presented as proof of the child's telepathic ability, reacting to events that parents described only after the communication. In several cases, children reacted to events that parents described only after the communication took place, suggesting a transfer of information beyond the normal senses. For example, a child correctly described a situation a parent had experienced, even though the parent had not spoken about it before this communication moment. Key participants and experts. Kai Dickens, documentary filmmaker and creator of the podcast, who focuses on exploring unusual abilities in children with autism. Diane Hennessy Powell, former psychiatrist, has researched these phenomena and was present for some cases of telepathic communication involving children with autism. Jeff Tarrant, a psychologist, also supervised some of the experiments and provided professional assessment.